Hello everyone, it's Susan Gerbic, and I'm going to show you how to cite something that's print. Remember the old days when we had to use libraries and print documents and things like that? Well, guess what? You can still use them on Wikipedia. Sometimes you don't have a URL for whatever it is you're trying to cite. As long as somebody reasonably could find the same citation you did, like maybe through a newspaper or a print magazine or something else, as long as they can find it, without having to probably buy a very expensive book or something like that, then the site should be fine with a print. So I'm going to use Archie Cochran. The reason why I'm using him is because he died in 1988, which was before the internet became a thing. So there's not a lot of great citations about him that have URLs. So if we look down at the bottom of his Wikipedia page, you'll see that these have ISBN numbers, and here's a PDF, and so on. So I want to show you what it looks like to have these cited in print. So I'm going to look over here. I'm going to just make a copy of that using Control F. No, I mean Control C. Oops, Control C. Oh, let's do that right. Control C. Okay. So then let's go up here to the top edit button. And then I'm going to hit Control F. And then I'm going to hit Control V. And it doesn't want to find it. So let's go like this. See if now it'll do it. Come on. Still doesn't want to do it. Well, that's interesting. So let's just scroll down here. Okay, well, scroll, 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 scroll. And if we look, we will probably be able to find these here. Here we go, cite book. So it might look a little different depending on which type of formatting style you use. Now it's a lot easier because you just fill in a drop-down box. But a few years ago, you cited it differently. So you might open up a page and see it looking like this. Another time you might see it where it's listed here, and then another here, and then another here, and then another here, and it's like a graph. So they both work. Here's this one right here. Now what it's done is it has to here. Okay, you can see how it has the little arrow, REF, the other arrow, and then here's the closing. And you'll see how it has a little line through there. That's a forward slash, and that's how it's the end of the citation. So when you first look at a Wikipedia page, edit page like this, it's pretty overwhelming. But once you get a little more used to it, that it always starts with this and always ends with this, it's a little easier. Cite book, here it is, the first name, last name, and the other author's name, the year. It has a title, autobiography. Cardiff University is the publisher. Here's the page numbers, and here's the ISBN number. So you can use up here, might look like this when you're looking at it on your own screen. You hit Cite, Templates, Book. So there's book, and there's journal, and there's news. So let's look at book, and here's what it would look like. You would put the author's first and last name in here, the title of the book, the date I would assume would just be the year of the publishing date. Here's the publisher, location, if you happen to know the location of the publisher where it was published, that's fine. Here's the ISBN number. I believe there's a 13-digit ISBN number and a 9-digit ISBN number. As far as I know, I don't think it matters which one you put in there. If you're going to be citing just a single page, like page 4, then you would put it here. If you're going to be citing 4 through 20, then you put it on this line. So not everything has to be filled. Now here's a URL. I don't know why you would put a URL if it's a print source only, but maybe you do. You don't have an access date if it's a book you're checking out of the library or a newspaper. We're going to leave this blank right down here. I'm not going to explain that right at the moment. And then you just hit insert. Let's look at journal. And journal has a few different kinds of things that are a little bit different. It has the issue number, the volume number, the journal name, DOI. I'm not sure what that means. I'm sure it's something very important. Here's news. A news citation, I assume, would be a newspaper article, but pretty much anything you can put under journal or book. Cite web is the one that we use the most, and I've explained that on another video. Okay, so what I do want to show you again is how we've cited a couple other books or unusual things. I'm going to go over here to the Skeptic's Toolbox. When I wrote this Wikipedia page, I did not have a lot of documentation to prove some of the things. Like I had here back in 1989, they weren't doing URLs and things like that. And nobody really thought that skepticism was going to be a thing. So we didn't save all the things that we might have saved now that would just naturally we'd have laying around. So what I did is it said, I was trying to find the name of each of the conferences they had. And I had brochures. And I wrote to CFI and I said, hey, do you have some of the brochures I'm missing? And they did. They sent me the brochures. They sent them to me in the mail, actually. And I was able to open them up and I could see who the speakers and who the lecturers were and the name of each individual conference. But I couldn't do anything with it because I didn't have a really good citation. So I just wrote them in. And then some editor on Wikipedia, not a GSoW editor, but somebody asked, well, where's the citation to prove this? And I said, well, I don't have a citation. And that editor said, well, what do you got? How do you know the names? And I said, well, I'm just looking at the brochures. He says, well, go ahead and cite the brochures. I said, well, I don't know how to do that. He says, just fill in the blanks of whatever you can fill in. And so that's what I did, and it seems to have worked just fine. And you'll see here, I think I used book or journal, I can't even remember now, but I just filled in what I could fill in. And it was, I wrote the word brochure, and I wrote that it was from, the brochure was printed in Buffalo, New York. And here's the title of the brochure. And I put CSI COP and the year. And so that's how I cited those brochures. So it's nothing fancy, and it worked just fine. And I have one more I did when I was over in Tasmania, Launceston, Tasmania in 2015. We went to the Tasmanian Zoo, and as one of the exercises with a few of the people there, I showed them how to improve the Wikipedia page for the Tasmanian Zoo we were just at. I gave them the brochure, and I said, come up with something. There's got to be something on this brochure that we can use to improve this Wikipedia page. And here's how it looked like. Here's how it looked when we cited it. It was just a brochure, and the brochure said, have a devil of a time, park map. And then we wrote brochure, and then we put Tasmanian Zoo, and that was all we had. But we were able to use it as a citation, and we were able to use it to say that they have feeding times of meerkats and penguins 7 days a week. There's a gift shop open 9 to 4, and animal feeding food available for purchase. And the zoo is available for parties and private events. So that's the kind of thing we were able to get out of that brochure. So you can use things like maps and brochures and newspaper articles and print sources. So when you when you select what you're going to cite, you know, maybe it's cite web, cite news, cite, what's the other two? Book or cite a journal. Just pick one of them and fill it out as much as you can on the little drop-down box, and that's all you got. You know, you only have what you have. Here's what it looks like. Let's look at it really quick since we're already there. Here it is. That's what it looked like. It says, here's the REF, and here. Title is our zoo. Publishers Tasmanian Zoo. Oh no, this is something else. I used this one right here. That's the equivalent of the whole thing. I use cite web. Tasmanian Zoo, Have a Devil of a Time, park map, brochure, publishers of Tasmanian Zoo, and that's all I had. I didn't have any years. I didn't have a location, and that worked well. Okay, so don't be afraid about go ahead and go to the library, go to newspapers, do whatever you need to do to get those citations that are needed to improve these Wikipedia pages that do not have URLs.